evening, and welcome to the Laugh Among Community Show. To have on Rob Salem. Rob, how are you?
I'm good. You?
I'm good. So this is kind of fun because I'm usually have guests on that know their work really well, as I now. Kind of a new band to me. As we were talking earlier, uh, Tony from Venom Inc.'s got a tour coming up, and you
Hmm.
guys are like on every show.
Yeah,
So
we're
I
the
thought,
direct support for the tour. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm like, well, I gotta check these guys out. They gotta be pretty good, and you guys are.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I want so we're talking about you guys mostly because I want people to come down early to the show and check you
Mhm.
out.
Yeah.
And check out your album. You have two albums out.
Yep.
Let's right. Your newest one came out in August,
Yes.
and that's what I've been listening to the most the past couple of days. Um,
Cool.
for no particular reason. Now, usually I don't do a soup to nuts like the interrogator interview, the
Hmm.
pedestrian one. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know a lot about you.
Sure.
So maybe you
I'm
could
happy
just do
to.
a little brief introduction to the band and where you're from, like a little bit, just a tiny thing to the fans, so we know.
Yeah. Um, well, we're based in North Central Indiana. We formed originally back in '96,
Oh wow.
so we're not a new band by any stretch. We just we played for a few years and then kind of took a break. Basically, I mean, we broke up. But then in 2013 we did a reunion show for fun. A couple of years after that, we decided, me and the original bass player James, we got together and talked, and we're like, hey, we had some really good music that we never got to bring to life the way we wanted to, and let's do a record. And in the course of going through that process, we decided, well, maybe let's try picking this back up as a live thing. And so it's the drummer that we picked up, Scott. We picked up a singer and kind of just got rolling back in 2016. Did a demo, got out, played a few shows, and then just kept working that way. Not real hardcore. We weren't out big and doing a lot of stuff. But we were, it was more of a glorified hobby at that point. Um, but then 2020, we got our first record finished up, and we kind of sent it out. And Tim at Pavement Entertainment really loved it and wanted to put it out. So we did a deal with Pavement Entertainment to release The Sin That Saves You, and that came out in October that year. Which was kind of bad timing because that was right in the middle of the pandemic.
Right.
But we couldn't really get out and play behind it for a while. But then in 2022, we got the opportunity to go out and tour with Doyle, guitar player from the Misfits. We did a
Yep.
direct support tour for him in March and April of that year. We got invited to come back out with them the following year in 2023, last year, and do a couple more weeks with them, and we did that. And we got home from that, got to work on our next record, the one that just came out in August, released that. And in October this year, we toured. We did a 10 day or 10 show run with Pissing Razors down in Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. Had a lot of fun. And now we're getting ready to hit the road with Venom Inc.
Very cool. You know, I like your sound. You do have the old school thrash to you guys,
Mm-hmm.
but you're also kind of got a modern sound. Not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I love that old sound because it always sounds like it's an original like sound. A lot of the
Yeah.
bands nowadays are very similar. And
Yeah.
I'm not being the old man for long
No, no.
either.
Yeah, I
There's
get
a
you.
like especially like in screamcore and emo core and all the other kind of core bands, there's a certain guitar sound and a tone. It's almost like a uniform.
Mhm.
And rock and metal really is not a uniform sport.
No, no. Well, that comes out of the punk roots, right? Where individuality and being and doing your own thing. Yeah, everything's going to kind of fit together and feel like it belongs together. But the idea is do your own thing.
Mhm.
You know.
And you have a sound that's, your own. And I've said it, I was talking to Alex from Testament. I said, one of the best things about you is you had a sound. Every band back then had a sound. He's
Yeah,
like, I had one pedal. You know what I mean? You discovered
yeah,
your pedal, you picked your amp, that was your
yeah.
sound. Um, so that's what when I first heard the album the other day,
Mm.
really turned me on. That I really liked about you guys is you guys do have your own
Thank you.
sound.
Well, we really pride ourselves on that. One of the things that one of the compliments that we get that's meant the most to us is that we don't sound like anybody
Right.
else, but if you're familiar with where we come from, you can hear our influences in the music that we listen to in ours, but we don't sound like we're trying to copycat anybody. We don't sound like we're trying to be Testament or Machine Head or Death Angel or any of these other bands that we grew up with and that we love. And we have a very diverse group of influences, individually. We all come
And this,
from places
Mhm.
musically, and that kind of shows in the music as we write it. So
Well, the album, the songs are very diverse too. But I want to say it was bothering me. I'm like, who? Because you guys said individually don't sound, you guys don't sound like a certain band. But there was something in the singer's tone. And I'm like, who is it? And I'm like, I know this voice. It's not very popular, like well known. And I'm thinking he reminds me of the singer from Dark Angel.
okay, okay,
And I mean
yeah,
that in the highest compliment too, because
yeah,
I
no,
love
no,
that
no,
band.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Johnny,
there's
it's
a similar
interesting.
tone, not the exact thing. I'm saying,
Yeah,
we all sound like somebody.
right. No, yeah, I totally get you, and he'll. I can tell you, Johnny will take that as a compliment too.
Oh God, yeah, it was a big compliment for me.
Yeah, yeah. And with Johnny, it's interesting because if you've listened to the first record and then listened to the new record, he's two different singers on
Mhm.
those records. On the first record, he was very aggressive, a lot more screaming, a lot more aggro, what we call aggro vocals. And on this one, he really leaned into a melodic side of things. And part of that goes back to what we were talking about a minute ago, that a lot of bands default into those aggressive, screaming, roaring, cookie cutter or cookie
Right.
monster guttural vocals. And there's nothing wrong with those. I like those plenty, and we use those in our tunes as well. But what tends to set singers apart is their ability to actually sing, carry a tune, and how they
Mhm.
do that. And some of the most distinctive voices, it's one a screamer is a screamer is a screamer, and yeah, they have different timbres and pitch control and things like that. But people remember singers more than they remember screamers in general.
Yeah.
And so, Johnny did a lot of work between these two records to lean into what he was good at. And, we really encouraged him to pursue his own sound and pursue the natural voice that he has. And he did some really good stuff on this, we think. So,
Well, it's very original sounding, and that's what I mean. It's good, and it's
yeah.
strong and it's original. And I'm not even I don't like to compare people, but that's for people that know is to say if you like Dark Angel's vocals,
Mm,
you may like his because it's the same tonal range.
right.
I think is what it is. It doesn't sound
Yeah.
exactly like him, but I
Yeah.
can't because his voice sounds so original. I mean,
Yes.
in Dark Angel, I mean, I like those albums, but I mean, I should look. I should talk to them. Are they even touring at
Yeah.
this point?
That'd be
I mean, I
cool.
love Death Angel too, and I've talked to them, but I'm saying,
Right.
yeah. So I mean, the point is like no one sounds like them, and it's not a rip. So
Right.
that's one thing. Your guitar, you have your own sound, you have your own tone.
Thank you.
I'd like to think with a couple albums and a couple more singles, if you get some more popularity, it'll be a lot more identifiable as your sound. You know what I mean? Oh, that's Rob's sound. That guitar sound. Like,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Just don't jump around. Keep your tone. Keep your sound. It confuses fans. They're like, I guess it's his. I don't even know who's in this album anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't plan on necessarily changing, but the goal as a musician, as an artist of any kind, we always want to get better. We always want to
Right.
improve. So, you're going to have some natural
I know.
evolution.
I'm just harassing you.
Oh, no,
I
no, I
expect
get,
growth.
it. I'm doing the artist, the artist answer thing,
Good
I
for
guess.
you. Well, it's and the funny thing was that like if I was like I don't know, I never had a pedal. I just plugged right into the amp.
Yeah.
Did the fingers. Usually,
Yeah.
but I think a pedal, and he's like my favorite guitar player, but a pedal and sounds add a flavor because there's only so many sounds you can make from a
Right.
guitar straight to an amp.
Right.
Yes, there's a
Well,
finesse and a gift that you have if you're a Zappa or a Van Halen.
you're right. Well, and that there's a big part of that too. And like, you can hand a guitar plugged into a pedal board and an amp or whatever. You get, if you hand it to Zach Wild, it's going to sound like Zach
Mhm.
Wild. Hand it to Eddie Van Halen, it's going to sound like Eddie Van Halen, even though the guitar is the same, the pedals, the amp settings, they're going to sound like those guys because their styles are so ingrained in them, and the way they play is unique to them. So, there's a lot of talk in the guitar community about how tone is in the hands, and you can argue tone wood, electronics, all that kind of solid state versus tubes, but style, technique, identity is in the hands of the player, I think.
Right.
you know, we're all chasing that thing that makes us us. And, you know, some guys definitely have it. And I feel like I'm one of those people. I'm still kind of chasing that, but
I
I've
think
got
that's
my
it.
comfort zone.
That's the important thing. Like I like all effects. I like that. I mean, I don't think you need to have a million things, but I like when you can make a guitar of different things. You can still have your own sound and have a bunch of
Mhm.
pedals and sounds.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dweezil Zappa's like that.
Yeah.
He experiences everything. He's got a sound. I know it.
Yeah.
You know. So I think it was like Mike Tramp said that same thing about the Eddie thing. He said
Hmm.
Nuno picked up Eddie's Van Halen's guitar. He goes, and it sounded like Nuno. It did not. That's Nuno picking it up or something like along those lines. So I mean, nobody can do anything.
Yeah.
Um, so but back to you. I mean, with only two albums out, you're still young in the industry as far as
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. We're still up and coming.
right. Which is amazing actually, the amount of breaks you've had to actually then also do like two albums so fast. Because usually when a band's that old, like when I say old is usually like more than 3 years, and they take a break. Usually there's nothing ever happens afterwards. They get back together, do things, but you've actually become stronger. And almost probably,
Yeah.
and I imagine a different band at this point. You probably had some songs and some ideas and a relationship, like a
Oh,
musical
yeah.
relationship, a connection,
Yeah.
but it wasn't fleshed out with the right people, maybe, and the right time.
Right. And that has a lot to do with it. So, you know, and even the different characters from these albums, between Sin That Saves You and Unbound, when we wrote Sin That Save You, we had a different singer. And in the course of finishing that album, he left the band. We parted ways with him, and Johnny stepped in after the record was done. The vote, everything was done. The lyrics were written, you know. So you know, we picked him up, and it was literally, okay, here, learn this. So he was learning somebody else's songs, the songs that he wasn't part of. With this record, he was part of it. He helped write it. He helped shape it. He
Yeah,
helped define it. So it was easier for him to sink into it, for one, because was able to take ownership of it from the get go.
yeah,
So chemistry absolutely does matter. And, you know, James and I, my bass player, like I said, we founded the band originally almost 30 years ago. And, you know, we've maintained friendships, you know, over the course of that 30 years. And even when we weren't playing together, you know, we were still friends. We still connected. We still hung out. We still occasionally go catch shows together.
mhm,
Um, so, you know, and he and I come from very different places musically, but we find a way to make it gel. And then with the addition of Scott, the drummer that came in 2016 and is still with us, you know, yeah, everybody adds their own little ingredients to the mix, and you know, you come up with something that works for everybody, and hopefully becomes its own thing. And so I think when it comes to, you know, what you're talking about with longevity and breaks happening, and you know
yeah,
how things happen, you know, some of that is how you approach things, you know, and how, you know, the risks you're willing to take, you know, how far out of your own comfort zone are you willing to get. You know, a lot of local bands, and you know, they play in their own little pool and they never really get out of it, and then they wonder why nobody notices them. And you know, for us, we did that for a long time. And I'm not knocking that. There's nothing wrong. If you're happy playing local shows, play local shows, man. Get out and play. Who cares, right? You know, not everybody wants to be a rock star, and you know, not everybody's trying to make it big or whatever.
no, but I think sometimes you're like, I can't because I have a day job.
Yeah.
But then the problem is when if they could get an album contract and they get a gig like this to go on tour, they
Yeah.
can't. So they're stuck. They finally get it. Their music is delivering it what it needs to.
Yeah.
The next chance,
Well,
the next level, they're stuck because there's no guarantee when they come back in 2 months
yeah.
that job
And,
they've had for 4 years is going to be there.
yeah. And that's a lot of it. And, you know, so, you know, we're all a little bit, you know, we're hitting middle age, you know, the oldest of us is a little over 50. The youngest of us are a little under 50, you know, so we're not young guys by any means, but we're also at places in life where we can find the time and the resources to do this a little easier than somebody that's maybe 30 years old, you know, that's stuck in a job that
Mhm.
they can't afford to risk at that point, or they don't have the resources available because, you know, especially like touring, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Fuel
saying. It's the
costs,
hardest.
vehicle maintenance, merch buys, hotels, food, all of those, insurance, everything that we have to pay for to go out on tour, you know, that costs. And, you know, the younger you are, the less likely you are to have the resources to facilitate that, because a lot of deals, you know, the industry's changed. You know, 30, 40 years ago, you got signed and they'd hand you a big fat check and say, go make a record and go tour and live on that.
Yeah.
back, keep whatever you aren't paying us back. It doesn't work that way so much anymore. Now, a lot of times, it's you get a label that's going to work with you, and help you get out, and so with payment, we get a distribution, we
Yeah.
get a lot of great support. They help market, they do a lot of that stuff, they help us get on tours. That's the big one. But there's just that process of, especially in metal, especially in rock and metal, there's still, even if you're signed, there's still a lot of DIY involved in it, where you've
It's
got to be,
mostly that now, actually.
yeah, you've got to be pretty self-reliant, self-sufficient, and able to make things happen for yourselves. And because we have that persistence, and because we have the ability to do some of these things, cool things have happened for us, like the Doyle tours, this upcoming Venom Inc tour. We had one of the singles off of this record charted at number 65 on the Billboard Active Rock chart this fall. We got
Congrats.
played Sirius XM's Liquid Metal corridor of covers. That's tough on us in some way, because we were there, we grew up with this stuff, we saw that those heady heyday of when metal ruled the world, and the industry was different, and the scenes were different. When we were 19, 20 years old, and before the internet, before streaming, before downloads and Spotify and all, and how that completely changed the landscape. And so we kind of still are like thinking about that, like, oh, we still want that, but we have to check ourselves and realize those days are gone, and now things are different. But because and because we're not a legacy band in the sense that we made it 30 years ago, we're trying to build an audience now. But so we've got to play by the rules of today, because we don't have these fan bases that a lot of those bigger bands do, that are going to stick with them no matter what. And we're trying to find ways to reach the newer audiences, which means we're trying to be those old guys on social media.
Well, I mean, I can say this, and I can say some a lot of firsthand accounts. Is a lot of those bands that had big fan bases have been helpful, but a lot of them, like I said, are still managing themselves. They're doing the clubs, they're doing what shows they can do,
Yeah.
and also people are seeing them playing out and sounding good.
Yeah.
And being, I'd say sober. I mean, you can't say you can't drink, but no one's getting drunk on stage anymore and sounding like garbage. You can't do that anymore.
The heat interview is not.
I mean, you can after the show, but if I'm going out and I'm 53, and I see you see, so I have a guitarist I love playing, and I go there and you're drunk. Now I know you. You're gonna get an earful from me, but I'd be like, that was a disappointment, because people are more selective when they go out. But also, the advantages you have, and a lot of bands do have, is the economy is different for your age group now. Like my for these kind of shows, that's probably between, I don't know, 45 and 60 is like the demo probably for this to view this show.
Yeah.
Everyone has expendable money now.
Mm-hmm.
We're the group that can go out and buy the tickets, buy the shirts. I think what hurt rock afterwards was the 90s, when was that weird time in the alternative bands. A lot of people that were into rock liked it, but they weren't listening to it because they had kids, it's college and loans. They weren't going to shows because it wasn't there. That it was like a changing of the guard.
Yeah.
So you're kind of in a good spot now. It changes over, and none of the bands owed the labels. They didn't have what they thought they had. They're all homeless once everything dropped out. So you didn't really get totally ripped off. I mean, the music scene maybe didn't get to appreciate it, but for this type of music, and this is just my opinion, is I actually think you're in a good spot, because a lot of artists didn't have like a home, health insurance, luxuries like a health insurance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of those bands still now, I know a lot of bands that are really good bands and would be legacy bands. They're living week to week. They don't have insurance. And these are bands who are like, that's a cool band. I'm not going to out anybody because they should be big.
And a lot of those guys, even some of the bigger bands that are bigger, they have regular jobs of some sort, or they're running a business or something when they're not on tour or not in the studio
or on tour. Actually, they'll be on the bus instead of partying it up.
Yeah,
they're making deals for their business online.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. A couple of us are, when we're on this tour with Venom Inc, we're going to be working from the road, because, like you're talking about, we had, there are careers in place that will allow that. So
I think that's the hybrid remote can work pretty well for an artist.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that we're looking at that. I manage my own little business doing photography and videography and stuff like that. So Obviously, I'm not going to be shooting for clients while I'm out on the road because I'm going to be busy. But I'm still going to be working those connections and trying to find those clients for when I get home. My bass player, he's going to be working on the road and doing remote work, and for the company that he works for. So it's to your point that we're at a place in life because we are a little bit older that we can take this risk with most of the risk mitigated. That we can go out here, we have fun, and if we build our audience and we sell a bunch of T-shirts, and we can go do it again later on in the year or whatever, great. But we're not risking not coming home to a home.
Right. And that's my point. It's not as bad as looking back and I wish it could have been the heyday because few people got out with a lot of money.
Yeah.
Some people barely got out with their shirts. And I'm saying on the positive side, you've got the talent and the skills already. That's already a given, but you've also got home, insurance. Hybrid jobs is a great thing now for the music industry that was never there before to help supplement. So it gives more people a chance to be on the road. Because some people are like, a lot of musicians, they're like, work in a factory, work in a warehouse. You leave, you're done. Or your boss loves you and it lets you take time off.
Yeah.
So this kind of stuff allows you to go on and be a creative soul. Because and that's one of the things, you're not going to become a millionaire doing music nowadays. I mean, if you are, oh, bless you. You do it because
not rock and metal, at least.
No, but you do it because it's in you. I don't know. I'll be honest. Every genre I've talked to, I've had on, I don't think anybody's making any money. I think you want to break even, you want to move it ahead. So just like in any job, how you get a raise, so you can live nicer, put money in the bank, your 401k. As an artist, you at least want to move up financially, have a bigger venue, a little better. No one's going to do Mariah Carey money. Not going to happen anymore. Those days are over for everybody.
And there's a truth to that. We at this point,
Stupid song. God, I hate that song. Sorry.
I hear you. Because of the way streaming has impacted everything, and nobody has to pay for anything anymore. Nobody wants to pay for anything anymore. And I'm not knocking that. I listen. I use Spotify and streaming services myself just because it's convenient and it's easy, and I can listen to what I want when I want. But it's one of those things where we know we're probably not going to make any money on the music itself. We want to, we'd like to make music or make money for us and for the label and that, but we generally consider ourselves traveling T-shirt salesmen. Writing
a lot of artists say, but I get it, and that's a pretty easy, flat out joking to say. But the truth is, no one's going to buy your T-shirts if your music is garbage.
Right. Well, and that's exactly it.
Although I will say, there's some metal bands that have really cool merch. And the music is garbage. You kind of want to wear it. Sometimes metal art is really cool.
You throw a cool skull with a gnarly logo on there, somebody will buy it. I mean, look at the Affliction T-shirts, right?
Don't get me started on those things. But that's the thing. One of the things that also is it's a community. So you're doing these things. You're going in. You're playing with the bands that have reputations for putting it out. Talk about Tony. Tony in Venom Inc. and whatever he's done. Tony will grind it out 24 hours a day his whole life. He's a road dog. He will do anything it takes. I don't know much about Piston Rangers. I've heard a lot of good things about them. I heard they're a bunch of hardworking guys too. I don't know personally. So you're doing these things with these bands that have strong work ethic relationships. And then you're going out and doing these things. It will start to carry over slowly. Like, oh, they're with that band. They must have credit. I mean, that's why I wouldn't listen to your album. It's just because it's for someone like me, there's just too much music that gets sent to me. But once it gets in front of you, and that's how you get in front of the fans. This is how you're gonna get in front of the Venom fans, Venom Inc. fans. You know what I'm
saying? And that's we learned a lot of that.
That's an investment.
And doing the tour with Doyle, that was our first national tour, and they were an awesome group of guys to work with. All of them. Their tour manager was great and looked after us. But they taught us a lot about what life on the road can be like and how to work. And we're not a party band. We're those guys. We're going to show up. We're going to show up to the venue early. We're going to show up early for load in and sound check, and we're going to be there, and we're going to bust our asses, and we're going to get our work done, and we're going to get on stage and get off stage in our timeline. Like their tour manager at one point, like about halfway through the tour, is like, you guys can play a little longer. You're getting off stage too quick. We're not ready. They're like, well, we're just trying to make sure we stay within our time. We don't want to be those guys that are, messing things up. But, and I have.
But that's how you get called back, though. That's how you call back. I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
didn't mean to step on you.
exactly. And so in getting this Venom Inc. tour, we're you build a reputation is what you
Hmm.
do, and people know each other and they talk to each other, booking agents and managers and all that kind of stuff. They talk to each other, and so when your name gets thrown into a hat, or gets put on a table with a booking agent looking for a support band, and you've already got a reputation as these guys are going to go out, they're going to work, they're not going to mess around, they're not going to cause problems, they're not going to be drama. You go to the top of the list for that. And then, when you've got somebody in your corner like Tim at Pavement, who we have, our A&R rep, he's the vice president of the label as well. You got somebody like that that's willing to go to bat for you because we've maintained the best reputation and work ethic that we can and not been dicks. You get that, and then you get those opportunities. And so like with this Venom Inc. tour, like I said, we've been texting with Tony, we've been chatting through online
Hmm.
means, and working up towards this run. And of course, I'm familiar with their music, and I've watched interviews with him and stuff like that. And he, I know people that know him, and he just seems like such a fantastic guy. And we're all excited to get on the road out there with those guys. But I mean, we're going to have fun, but we're going to go out and work, and we're going to go out and do what we can to sell our shirts and our merch, but we're going to work those crowds to get them ready for the headliner after us, because that's our role as a support band.
It
um
is. But it's a team thing. I mean, there's no egos involved, and
right.
and it's exciting time. I think as an artist too, for being a fan of metal, to be on the tour with this is kind of exciting because this is kind of a reawakening for Venom Inc.
Yeah,
With some of the lineup changes. This is very exciting.
yeah, yeah,
It's not
yeah.
negative. I mean, things have just
No,
changed because life changes. So it's kind of
yeah.
exciting. It's this is probably evolving to something new towards the next album. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I know, from stuff I've seen online that Tony's talked about with various news sites and interviews he's done. They've been had stuff in the works for a new release.
Hmm.
Sounds like they're trying to get a couple things out next year. But with Manis leaving the band because of his health reasons and everything else is going on, and you know, so Tony's picking up. He's got Kern Murphy playing guitar with them right now, and I don't know if that's just a touring situation or if he's joining the band permanently. We haven't talked
I
about
don't know
it.
yet.
I don't want to make assumptions, but yeah, like we talked about earlier,
But I will have
individual.
him on my show in a day or two, so you can
Oh,
watch
okay,
that show, and I will ask him. So
right on,
the answer will be
right
out there
on.
soon.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if I'm gonna meet him here in about 2 weeks. So we'll
Ask
wait.
him then. I get what you're saying. I think it's probably a wait and see, but
Yeah,
who knows? I mean, it's interesting, but I think one of the things that people didn't realize is, Tony did like four albums with Venom. He was a fill-in guy that covered him, not fill
yeah,
in, but he was the one who could come in and deliver it, with the other guys and keep them going. He's always
yeah,
been there. So
yeah,
but he was kind of in the shadows because he always got, every time you got a Venom guy in the band, the media always goes to the Venom guy, and then this is the other guy.
yeah.
But in reality, Tony's been a big part of actually keeping the ship going. Like
Mhm.
so this is the
Yeah,
part where, as you've seen from the press, Tony gets a little more, um, a lot more credit, and the band's going to be evolving now. And so to be able to see it evolve live on stage as the band figures
yeah,
itself out, it's
yeah,
kind of a cool thing.
yeah, yeah. It'll be cool, and the two records that Venom Inc. has out are great, and they even sound different from
Oh, totally.
Ave to There's Only Black. So there's evolution just right there. So whenever they come out with whatever's next, it's gonna evolve, just because they as people and musicians evolve, but with the personnel changing, and it'll be exciting to hear what they do. And it'll be interesting to see if they tease any of that on this tour. I know they, between the Venom Inc. and then of course the Venom catalog that they play, they've got a lot of material they can pull from for their sets. So it'll be interesting to see what they whip out every night. But
I
like
mean,
I said,
he would do all Venom Inc. If the fans wanted it.
yeah,
He just wants to make the fans happy. He'll throw
yeah,
in, well, he doesn't care. He'll do the other stuff. But honestly, he's like, I have enough music to go just do a show without doing any Venom.
yeah. Well, and I mean that's no different than any band doing covers of any kind, right? Like
Yeah.
we put a couple of covers here and there. We put a cover on the
Which
last
actually, this is
record.
a good lead in for that. Let's talk about each album had a cover, and they weren't normal rock covers.
Yeah,
Like it wasn't like you weren't doing like a cover of Death Angel because that's the type of
right.
music. You did Sponge on your first album, and then you did
Yeah,
The Cult on this one,
Yeah.
which I like the cover of this one really good too. Um, what's going on with this covers? Like, what are you thinking when you do those? Is that just a time period that you like doing covers, or is it fun to do something different?
It's fun to do something different for one. For two, so there's always that, especially, people don't know who we are yet, right? So it's we show up at a venue, whether it's a local show or a touring, we're out on tour, in support of a national, a bigger national. We want people to identify with us. We want to put something out that's going to make them go, oh, I'm going to pay attention. And a cover is a good way to do that. It's a good way
Hmm.
to get somebody invested, because if they, and so like the sponge cover Plowed, that actually isn't on the first record. We did that after the first record, a few months. Um, but that's one of those songs that you may not know the band, you may not know the name of the song, but the minute you hear it, you know it. And
Hmm.
it, that goes across genres. And, so we added that into the set to have fun, and we decided to go ahead and cut it just to have fun with it. And, we told the label about it, and they're like, oh yeah, and Tim was like, dude, I love this song. Let's put it out. And so we put it out, and it even got Vinny's blessing, the lead singer of Sponge. He shared it out on his social media. So, we took that as a thumbs up that we did it
Yeah, I'd
justice.
say.
And then, so we weren't really looking to do any more covers, record and release any more covers, keeping a few in the wheelhouse for shows, just to give an audience something to bite into us, if they weren't familiar with us. But Johnny and I, just for fun, had been messing around with this cover of She Sells Sanctuary. And, we let the other guys hear it, and they're like, oh, dude, that's cool. Let's do it. And so we went ahead and worked it up. And when it came time to do the record, we decided to put it on the record. And, uh, it's been fun to do. And
It's a good song. I mean, it's interesting because I'm a Cult fan. I'm a Cult
yeah,
fan myself. So, I mean, you could have done like Love Removal. There's certain rock songs that would have felt like the easy ones to go to and acceptable. Or Firewoman, like some of the popular ones. So She Sells Sanctuary kind of wasn't like a huge hit by any
right.
means, but by the fans, they recognized, especially the guitar pieces to it. So
Yeah,
to me, that was a really interesting choice. I'm like, oh, that's not a cult song I would think I would have heard covered, unless it was like
yeah,
a deep covers album or something. So
right.
that was fun. So I'm like, I dig the band. I know it. It's enough of something,
Yeah,
and that's smart marketing.
yeah. And that's a lot of, it's fun for us to do. And, that song in particular, I don't want to say it's a simple song. There's a lot going on in there. Billy Duffy is a great guitar player. Of course, Ian Astbury has one of those iconic voices. But so the song itself, but it's easy enough to play that it doesn't require a ton of. It's not super technical. I think that's the
Right.
word I want to use, because I do not want to diminish at all what those guys did with that song when they wrote it.
Well, that's the best
Um,
thing about a good song, right? Though a good rock song, it
yeah,
sounds super simple. It's not
yeah,
overly complicated, and you're like, how did they think of that? Because it's so like the Beatles
yeah.
songs that you're like,
Well,
that is
it
so
was,
simple. And you're
yeah,
like, look at the chords here, but I couldn't have thought of that.
yeah, and with that one, if you go watch live performances of that song, or or interviews that Billy does where he's talking about that and playing those licks, he never plays it the same way twice. It's always a little different, which gives it character. And I'm sure for
I'm
guys that
sure Ian loves that too, right? God, what are we playing?
he doesn't sing it the same way twice, from what I've heard either. But they've been playing that song for what, 40 years now, so I'm
Mm.
sure that variation keeps it interesting and fresh for them as well. But doing covers like that, like I said, some of it's marketing, some of it's saying, let's just have fun, with something, and see what happens with it. And which is how a lot of our original songs start. But doing covers like that, yeah, it's about connecting with an audience that may not know you, but is probably going to know this song.
I think when I hear it in a band like that, I think, all right, the band's not 100% totally like just like there's like over intense. They're just like everybody else who's listening to it in the car,
Yeah,
like other types of music, and this is something they like. And they're probably the same guy be hanging out with you having a beer that night, just listen to all types of metal. Like you're not
yeah,
locked in. You don't take yourself too seriously. There's no ego involved. And there's nothing wrong with pulling people with a good cover song, especially if it's an interesting one.
yeah,
It's like the candy
yeah.
at a
Well,
counter at a store. It's an impulse
right.
buy, pull you in to get you into the store.
Yeah.
You get the pack of gum. Next thing you know, I gotta get milk. Next
Yep.
thing you know, I listen to the whole album.
Yeah, and that's just it. And you touched on a point there about taking it too seriously or going overboard with stuff. And for us, one of the things when we do play covers, we want them to be us, but we want to honor what made the song good to begin with. And we
Right.
don't want to destroy it and take away from it. And I'm not trying to disparage anybody else doing
No.
their thing because they're doing what they want. But like one of the best compliments we've gotten with both of these songs, especially Plowed, was that we did it justice, that we beefed it up, we made it heavier,
Hmm.
but it didn't take away from what the original song was. And we've heard that about Sanctuary as well. And so that feels good because, it's what we're aiming for. We want people to go, oh man, this is just a really cool version. I love this song. I love the original, but I really like this too. And that comes from not taking ourselves too seriously. We try to take our musicianship, we try to take the work we're doing seriously, but we're not trying to take ourselves too seriously. We want to go have fun. Yeah, we got them big metal thing. You go watch our music videos, and they're dramatic lighting and the fast cuts
That's
and
the performance part of a show. I mean, one of
yeah,
the fun things about metal, and especially the older different types of genres, are you had the music, and then you had the costumes or the uniforms, and then the performance and the lights,
yeah,
or the theme, or the type of music. I mean, and sometimes it helped their band, or some people like, you have Man of War, people love the music and it's huge. But some
hmm
people are like, I just wanted to wear a t-shirt, not have to oil up myself. Not making a dig, just making a light joke.
yeah,
But as a kid, when I was younger, I'm like, just listen to Metallica, Megadeth. I
yeah.
can't relate to that. Now I've learned to grow and enjoy some of the music, so it's not a dig
hmm
with the music, but like image can change effect on a band.
Well,
So
you go to concerts because you want to see a show, right?
right,
Nobody. I don't want to say nobody because there are people that like going to shoegazing, I guess. But you know, people
it's
want to see
boring.
the show. They want to see, especially in rock and metal, people want to see movement. They want to see energy. They want to,
Sweat. I want to hear mistakes. I want to hear
yeah,
somebody's a bad
yeah,
note. I want to hear somebody go off key.
yep,
I want somebody
yep,
struggling with something. I want somebody laughing in a part of the song that
right.
I can
I
listen to the
haven't
record right
been,
now at home alone.
yeah, yeah, and I haven't been home or I've been to a show. I don't think I can ever say that I've been to a rock or metal show where the band's performing, whether it was Metallica or Machine Head or Trivium or whoever. They weren't having fun. They were smiling. They were laughing.
Yeah.
They're heavy. They're bringing it. They're kicking your ass from start to finish, but they're enjoying it. They're having fun. And so what's happening? The audience is having fun.
Right.
We're feeling the music, but you're connecting on a human level with those guys because you see that they are human. And that doesn't mean that, bands, like I love Behemoth, right? They're a black metal band. They hot, lots of polish. They sound great. They
Hmm.
got the corpse paint and the whole presentation, and they have that very serious thing going on. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think in general, most people go to shows because they want to have fun.
Well, I agree with you because there are some bands that I like that too, and I agree. I'm like, and I can get it and appreciate the band, but
Mhm.
overall, it's a lot of energy. I could not be totally into a genre like that all the time
Yeah.
because I like to laugh and be to do it. I mean, I can't be like, I couldn't be so sad. Like I don't have it in me. I
Yeah.
can enjoy
Oh,
the music as almost as a performance, as a
yeah,
simple
I saw
standalone
Behemoth.
performance.
Yeah, like I saw Behemoth a couple of years ago when they toured with Arch Enemy, and I caught
Hmm.
them in Chicago, and fantastic show. And but even Nurgle, there are moments where he broke character, and he's obviously enjoying himself.
Hmm.
And with a mixed audience like that, yeah, you've got melodic death metal coming from Arch Enemy, and then you've got the black metal with Behemoth, and like Unto Others opened that show, and Napalm Death opened that show. So it was a
Wow.
really, really big mix of genres there, and it was which is cool. I don't
No, I
like
agree
going.
though. It's an interesting mix though. That's really cool. I mean,
Yeah, I don't like going to shows and it's six death metal bands because by the third one they all sound the same. But I give my ear something to listen to. But even those super serious guys, especially guys like Behemoth, they have fun. And so if you're not going out to have fun, why are you doing it, right? And if you don't want your audience to have fun, you're not going to win an audience.
no.
People people will remember you if they have fun. And
Right.
that's one of the big things we've learned about touring is we go up even if we have a bad night,
Hmm.
wrong notes, missed fills, forgotten lyrics, whatever could happen, technical issues. If we have fun, the audience doesn't care because they're having fun. and that's what they got to remember. And that's when they're going to walk away from the stage after your set and go to your merch table and buy that shirt or that CD or whatever it is that they have the money for that night.
Right. Well, I mean, it shows, yeah, I mean, it's a part of you with them. They become part of it's like a family.
Yeah,
And you want to welcome them in and not be like, yeah, I mean, they sound good, but I could just listen to their album and not come. I'm not feeling it from the stage. You don't even have to be dancing around. Just at least have the power and the energy and the smiling at least when you play or something. Just something has to be there.
yeah, yep,
Um,
exactly. And we try to do that. It gets a little tight sometimes because as a support band, a lot, on these tours, a lot of times we don't have a lot of stage space. We kind of get crammed in. But we make the but we still do what we can. We never just stand there. We're not like one of those 50 rock bands on the Lawrence Welk show or something like that. We're standing there pantomiming to a backing track. The Beatles or who, the Monkees, whoever it was. We're up there and we're out there in all of our glorious uh, imperfection.
but the one time you do it, you all come out in suits and you do that gig, just standing there, people would talk about it.
Yeah,
Aren't they the
maybe,
band?
maybe we should do that for the whiskey show on this tour in LA, just because
That'd be
although
hilarious.
the ghost of Jim Morrison and Lemmy in particular, they'd probably disapprove.
But like they do the thing, get the image and pictures of Lemmy all over the suit, you
Yeah,
know.
there
So you
you
still
go.
that's um. So I mean, I don't want to wrap this up, but I do want to touch on a few things. So, if people get in touch with you, you're very accessible. They can go to you on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook. You have a YouTube page. All the links will be underneath. People subscribe and follow and all those things, especially um, either Instagram and Facebook are usually really great spots for information. It looks like they're both updated. There's a website.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put the link there.
Yep.
And subscribe to YouTube. YouTube is very important to a lot of bands
Yes.
because it can be another side hustle, as those kids would say.
Well, it can. More importantly, the way the industry works nowadays is booking agents, venues, talent agents, promoters. They look at numbers and decide whether or not they want to book you from those.
I'm
Because
laughing because I get the same thing.
yeah, because it's, do you have an audience? That's what they want to know, and so getting people to do the social. I hate social media. I
Well,
only
social
have
media is, yeah, no, I get it. And I think, you know what, it's interesting. So if I reach out to an artist, I want someone to show, sometimes I'll be like, the PR people are like, well, how many views? How many this? I'm like, I don't know. Look, here's my
yeah,
channel. Here's my YouTube channel visually. So look at that. See what my guests will come on. A lot of the bigger guests never ask me how much. Their managers never ask me. Usually
yeah,
only the smaller bands have asked me, which is really weird. But for people that are out there, and I'm going to say bands or even podcasters that don't think the music industry is not watching you, I've heard them say stuff. I've heard even podcasts be like, "Oh, this artist didn't come on. They ghosted me." I didn't like badmouth. I'm like, dude, people are surfing around and doing research.
yeah.
You don't know how
Well,
many
that goes
people
back to what I
I've
said a
reached
little
out
bit.
to, and they've gone, "Oh, for another artist." They're like, "Oh, that artist can't right now. Let's get back to that." But hey, I saw your interview with Jethro Tull.
Yeah,
And they're like, "Oh, no one usually interviews him and whatever." It was a nice compliment. But the point was, that was the first time I learned that this guy was a big PR at the company. There's no one, he's not following me. We're not Facebook friends. It's only because we cross paths. I know who did it. I've learned like a lot of CEOs and a lot of different managers follow these things. There are
yeah,
people not they're lurking, they're just watching and reading and listening.
yeah,
So who you are a venue as a band, who you are online, how you talk in any level of the music industry, it's very small. You need to
yep,
work hard and be a good person.
yeah.
That's
And
that's
that goes back to what I said a little earlier
yeah, well,
about
that's what I thought about it. I didn't get to share that with you because I agree with you. I agree with you. I think nobody needs a knucklehead right now. Nobody wants
yeah.
to put someone on a podcast when they're maybe your band they like. But if they
Well,
badmouth somebody else, why won't they just turn on you? You know what I mean?
especially in an industry that is so oversaturated,
Hmm.
that some somebody, you want to be a jerk to somebody, your band's going to get passed over, and there's 100 more waiting for the opportunity that you just threw away because you wanted to run your mouth or be difficult to
It's
work
happened to
with.
bands on this show that have not come on or I've not aired their videos afterwards.
Yeah,
You know, there's just no room for that for being, there's no ego. Because I'm
yeah,
like, there's always somebody a billion times more talented. There's a million podcasters that are way better than me. But it's
yeah.
about how much you
Yeah,
love for music.
I deal with, I get that too. And man, we're just happy to play our music. We're happy to get on the road and hang out with the cool people that we get to hang out with, whether they are somebodies or famous or
Mhm.
whether it's just that 14-year-old kid that's coming to their first rock show, and we're the third band that they've ever seen live after the two bands that opened in front of us, and we get to connect with that guy and make their night. And we've gotten that a lot, and we're grateful for that, where we've had parents message us, later on, hey man, I brought my kid to the show, and they had never seen anybody, but they saw you guys and they love you and they're fans, and they want to buy a CD. And I said, well, we do things, we'll make sure that we sign that CD when we mail it to them, or the shirt or whatever it is, and throw extra guitar pick or something in with it, or just because we don't exist without them. We could play music all day long and sit in our rehearsal room, and write it and record it and never put, but without those people that come to the shows, without those people that watch the videos, without those people that that consume what we put out, we're just bedroom producers at that point, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we want,
there's enough of those guys doing it though, right?
Yeah. We want to get out and put, there's no point in going on tour if you're not trying to put your music out in front of anybody.
Do you have stuff in front of you besides after Venom? Do you have like irons? Are you spinning other plates, as I would say, industry? You know what I'm saying? Are there plans for other tours like later on that you're trying to work on, or you headlining your own something?
Yeah,
you don't have to share what it is. I don't want you putting it out there that isn't there. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah,
but
we don't have
you're looking.
We don't have anything set in stone yet. We've got a couple of things that are being talked about.
Okay.
We've got something that we're trying to see if we can make happen in the spring with some friends of ours. We don't know where that's at right now. And then we've been approached about the possibility of something else later next year, but we're waiting to see if that comes together.
Well,
so
I think the point I wanted to make is, if after talking and they want to see you guys, they see their videos and subscribe to their stuff, and it's not in their area with this tour, hopefully they need to keep following you and subscribe, because there's other opportunities. This isn't your one and done. You could be back out in different areas again with different bands.
Right.
This isn't, because like I said, some bands are like, no, this is the one tour I do. I can do a cruise, because that's their life, and I get it.
No,
but you're the kind of band that you're right.
So
and I want people to be aware to look out for you guys, to not just
for sure. We don't know what they're going to look like yet. We got to see if these other opportunities materialize the way we hope they will. If they don't, we're going to be looking for others.
Right. So you're not locked down. There's potential. You're always looking to play out and do stuff. So people just need to kind of follow you and keep it, for announcements, if to see you.
There are a lot of places we haven't played yet that we would love to play. There's a lot of places that we have played that we would love to go back to. So, if we can get out and do stuff, we're going to get out and do stuff. It's just a matter of seeing how they all come together, because there's a lot of moving parts in that. It's not all just us getting in our bus and putting our gear in our trailer and going. It's
but a couple of years of successful tours like this with other bands into the venues will give you a reputation with the venues.
Yeah.
The one I won't put you in there because they know you're not going to destroy the place or whatever, and you're going to show up. And the other thing is, the bands, you'll have might not be the same packed house, but you'll have a good crowd coming in, and that's how you start, because they'll be like, oh, I remember them. Oh, they opened for so-and-so. Yeah, I really like them. They're playing. I'll come down there and play. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
And that's what these tours are doing for you, investing.
Exactly. And we experienced that with the first two, the Doyle tours. We went out the first in 22 with them, and people don't know who we are. We go back out with them in 23, and we hit some of the same venues as on the first tour. People showed up at those shows wearing our t-shirts that they had bought on the first tour. And, they were like, we get to see Doyle and we get to see Salem's Child. And that's really cool. And so it made us, that was like, that's cool.
Pretty awesome. Congrats. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's how it's a cottage industry, and how you survive, and how you can financially survive that's the model.
Yeah.
Everything in-house. You try to get your songwriting credits. You do work with labels. If you have something like Pavement's a great label, sounds like, because there's a deal. Everybody gets something out of the deal. You still have control. They get something for their investment. It's a belief in each other, but you have your control over other things, so it feeds into each other.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like I said, Pavement is a great label. A lot of the opportunities that we have are because we are with Pavement, but they are also because we have not been jerks about anything. We didn't get signed and just rest on our laurels like rock stars. That's not how it works. We got signed, and now it's time to go to work, right?
Oh, that's totally not how it works. I'm actually put the link for Pavement underneath too. After you check out their stuff, go to Pavement, support them. Also check out their artists and whatever's going on with them. I'm going to go over and check them out.
Yeah, a lot of great bands on Pavement. Soil, Plush, Puddle of Mud,
Hmm.
which are very different bands from us, but they're out doing really cool stuff. And
Oh my God, Puddle of Mud. I mean, what a what a confusing talent going on there. Oh, they
yeah,
I'm not even
I've
knocking
met,
him in a bad way. I'm saying there's so many challenges, and I just think
yeah,
it's mental health. But I mean, to I'm gonna say this because anybody you talk about being responsible, but for someone who's dealing with any kind of challenges and just doesn't show up, it's hard to build a business on
yeah.
somebody's
I met
reliability.
Wes. I met Wes about 10 years ago working a show near my hometown, and he was just such the nicest guy.
Well, I've heard when he's sober and he's doing good, he's salt of the earth.
He was so nice, so easy to get along with, so gracious. Before the show, fans were lined up outside the venue, and he went out and walked down the entire line, shaking hands, saying hi, signing autographs. And this is a couple hours before the show, so about an hour or so before doors open. Yeah, just super super nice guy. And then went on and they rocked the house that night. It was a great
Hmm.
show. So yeah, it's kind of a bummer to see him go through some of the struggles he has, and I
He
don't.
has, and I'm not making light of it. I'm just saying I'm laughing at the irony of anybody, how hard it is for somebody to get somebody into a venue to begin with.
Yeah,
And he's already got the reputation the music to put him in there.
yeah,
But then the challenge to be like, no, he's going to show this time, or it's going to be this.
yeah,
It's hard.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
I
like I
I
said,
I, I hope he
the
pulls it
experience I had
together.
was
I
great.
really do. I wish the best for him. As
Yeah,
you
yeah, me
know,
too. They're working on a new record right now, I've seen.
good.
So the label's been posting studio
Well,
updates.
hopefully he'll have some more happy personal happiness. I think that's what's going to lead to
Yeah.
making him.
All the best for them and anybody else. Honestly, everybody. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, we're on a great label. We've got a really great team. We feel like family to Tim and Mark and the rest of the crew. And we owe a lot to them for taking a chance on a band that they'd never heard of when they signed us, and we don't have the social numbers to,
yeah.
but we've grown as artists and people because of them, and we're grateful for them. And and then we put the work in behind what they believed in us. And so I guess I'm doing the whole, I'm an old guy trying to tell young musicians, if you're watching, don't be a dick.
Oh, 100%. I mean, as I say, and the other thing is, I think the industry, I'm hopeful. I keep telling them numbers don't matter. There's been bots, but like everyone's not believed the bots for the longest time.
Yeah,
A lot of those numbers
yeah,
are inflated. I'll have a band like I have this many like huge numbers. I'm like, they're like, you should put me on your show. I'm like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, if I like your music, I would. It's not a big deal. But now you're putting yourself off like you're some huge thing as you're approaching it. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's not who you are. So
yeah,
clearly, this is not gonna be an honest conversation.
yeah, yeah. Well,
I
that's just
said
it.
I'm not gonna do it then. Then you're so big, you don't need to be doing a small show like me.
Yeah, and well, that's where we're proud of the fact that maybe our numbers don't meet what some other bands who are lesser known than us do, but they're all real. They're all real people clicking that follow.
Exactly. I don't think a lot of those are real numbers with a lot of the bands on any on sites or anything.
Yeah, yeah. So and, Spotify has cracked down a lot on bot streaming. I know, but you know, they're still, somebody's going to figure out a way around that eventually. And it's still going to be a
Hmm.
thing. So but we're happy with the fact that the streams that we're getting, the plays that we get, the followers, the subscribers, there are real people out there finding our music and deciding that they like it enough to do that thing and hit that button on that website. And it makes us feel good because we know that it's real. And
That's what the whole show is about today, is to make Rob feel good. So people, I want your kids making cards for him out of macaroni necklaces. I want Rob to feel good every day.
just
Message
don't
him.
eat glue on the macaroni so I can cook it later.
Yeah, I would say, Rob, it's been a pleasure. It didn't surprise me. Like, once again, I know if you run a certain circle with certain people, it's almost a guarantee the next person's going to be good. So, people, go on, check out the band. I've become a new fan. Subscribe. I am subscribed to your stuff. So I hope
Thank you.
everybody else does. Okay.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show, man. I appreciate it. And check them out.
Donna, thanks for having me. Look forward to talking to you again.